Unless you have been through this kind of abuse, you will never be able to explain to someone what it's like to not be able to get up and walk away.
When you keep that secret inside, it's just gonna stay inside.
Growing up, one of the biggest challenges, which kind of went with me into my adulthood, was an eating disorder as a result.
There was a lot of talk in school that people who are sexually abused become abusers. And I was always worried that if I say something, people might think that I am.
It's something that people can't understand unless they actually go through it.
I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to get stuck, and I wasn't going to be a victim.
I grew up in Crown Heights. Lived in the same house all my life, spent all my time in Crown Heights in the yeshivas. There was someone who lived nearby. He took an interest in me. He would take me to shul for Mincha and Ma'ariv. He would bring me to baseball games. He was a New York Mets fan. I became a New York Mets fan because of it, and I enjoyed the attention. Slowly the attention became a little bit more than I wanted, and it turned into, I guess the best term for it is sexual abuse. Remember that door locking, and the rest kind of went dark.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I was the fifth of 8 children. Very loving parents, loved my brothers and sisters. For the most part, I felt safe. You know, every child demands different attention. I was quiet, I didn't really ask for much attention. School was hard for me because I was walking around with the secret that it kind of burdens you when you're a little kid. So I was probably somewhere between the ages of 6 and 7, and it went on until about the age of 9.
Nehemiah Weberman was an illegal therapist, and he was my wife's therapist. The abuse took place about 3 years. The first day she got to Nehemiah Weberman, Nehemiah Weberman didn't even wait 5 minutes to start his act on her. He actually took a lighter and burned my wife with that. Then my wife didn't come to him for like 2 days. She stayed in bed, she didn't want to go out. He actually came over to her house, nobody was home, and he abused her again in her house, in her room, and she never ever wanted to enter that room again. There's so many stories just to go on and on. If I say it myself, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
I grew up in an ultra-Orthodox home. It wasn't the most functional of homes. My parents did get divorced a little bit after my bar mitzvah, and I did have to grow up quickly. There was this one rabbi who saw that vulnerability, took advantage, and this was when I was about 15. He was pretty much the closest person to me, and I couldn't fathom that that was considered abuse.
So I'm the oldest of 8 children, so there's 7 underneath me. There's 4 boys and 4 girls. It was my brother's bar mitzvah, and at some point, I guess when everybody went to sleep, it kind of beckoned me to go on the front porch and so that we could talk. Here is this man who I thought I was really close with is just smiling at me the entire time. And this creepy smile, I'll never forget it to this day.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I lived there my entire life till I was around 19. I moved when I was around 19. I moved to Florida, and I've been living here since then. From when school started, I was very excited always to go to summer camp. It was one of the coolest things. It was summer camp that I was attending. I woke up one night and I knew I was abused. I just didn't believe it. It didn't make sense.
I was raised in a big family of 12 children. Before I went to camp, my mother actually spoke with me and my brother and told us that if anybody touches you inappropriately to let me know, we're going to take care of it. And I was abused that summer. in camp by my counselor. For many years, I just, blacked it out of my memory, didn't deal with it until I found out that he was going to be my brother's learning teacher. I told my mother that he touched me. Until I started JCW, I never spoke about it.
I was always afraid that this secret might come out. I think I was more afraid that I would tell myself the secret than anyone else.
I don't want it to have to be a secret that I'm ashamed of and that I can't talk about.
Right when she started talking, therapist, it was like, this is a case and we have to go to the cops.
I didn't want to tell anyone about it. I was scared about it. I was petrified about it. I didn't want to believe that this is what happened.
I know I don't sleep at night. And I have nightmares. The amount of victims that are out there, the amount of abusers that are out there are in the thousands.
I'll tell you more, I'm a victim myself. A couple of nights before my bar mitzvah is when the camp went on a trip to a park to play. The head counselor from the camp, which is a Hasidic guy, he wants me to come back with him to camp. He right away grabbed me, and he just did it over. From start to the end for about a half an hour. I never told publicly the story until right now, this day. I just had a conversation on the phone with my father, and he actually recalled from when I was 12 years old, when I called him and told them that my head counselor molested me.
Religious counselor is sentenced to 103 years in prison for molesting a young girl who went to him for help.
Never got an apology in this community for being arrested or for my wife being molested by Nechemia Webman. My tata is a member in the Shilping VD. My tata is a member in the Shilping VD. I'm Jewish just like them, and I keep Shabbos just like them. I do everything exact just like them.
Did you ever feel lonely? Did you ever feel lonely with people all around you? No one's found you. But do you remember? But do you remember where you are and where you're coming from and who you're gonna be?
I honestly thought it was my fault. It took me 20 years to realize that there was nothing sexual about a 6, 7-year-old girl.
Nothing could have prepared me in all the training that my mother had taught me about a potential abuse or strangers touching you could have prepared me for what occurred that time.
For a long time, I was afraid of him. I definitely was afraid. So I haven't approached him since.
I used to be afraid to see him or his family. And then something pretty big happened. I forgave. I didn't forgive him, but I forgave the universe. I let go.
It was kind of always right here, just waiting to get out and finally to let that secret out and see that I didn't disappear into a cloud of smoke. That was a good feeling.
Growing up, I realized that the right thing to do is to have the courage to talk to the person that's closest to you.
It's still painful when I talk about it, when I open up about it.
I just want to say that even though this is the first time I'm hearing everything that happened, I love you, and I will always love you, and I will always support you.
Thank you.
And I'll always be there for you if you need.
Thank you.
If not JCW, I don't think I would ever talk about my story. I'm very good in helping others. I'm very bad in helping myself.
The first thing the therapist recommended I do was to actually call the abuser. I introduced myself, and right away he knew what I was calling about. I said, I'd like you to come down to Miami and meet with me and my therapist so we can talk. I said, I also want to make sure you didn't do this to anyone else. So I'd like you to take a lie detector test that you didn't do it to anyone else. He pulled back. Mayor called him, he didn't answer, sent him a text message. What no one else was able to accomplish in 4 years, they did in one text message. The following week, he came down to Miami. He had a session with me and my therapist. I'm 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, I exercise a lot. And this man just looked huge next to me. And as I sat there on the couch, this 5'3", 140-pound guy became 5'3", 140 pounds. I walked out of the room 1,000 pounds lighter. Mayor, I wanted to express my gratitude for what to you may have appeared to be a text message, but for me was so much more. I hope to be able to inspire others to do the same thing.
If somebody else was doing it, I would not be doing it right now. Who wants to walk around everywhere they go talking about child sexual abuse? Every l'chaim I go to, every wedding, engagement party, bar mitzvah, social event, Shabbos table, anywhere I go, I have victims coming over to me. I have family of victims. I have people asking me questions.
Had I not gone to them, to JCW, I think that things would turn out a lot different.
I needed to tell someone. I needed somebody that can hear me out and say, okay, don't worry, we'll get this right. JCW was there for me.
JCW is pretty much the only organization I can think of that can give the victim their voice.
I want it to be a story that I can use to help other people be open about their abuse, whether it's a stranger, whether it's a family member.
You are not alone. I promise you, you are braver than you think. All it just takes is that 1 ounce to just get up and talk about it.
There's nothing, 100% nothing to be ashamed of.
Get help, get some therapy. You can use it. It definitely went a long way for me.
I wish that I back then knew that I can tell a teacher or a friend or a neighbor or someone, and that I didn't have to wait 20 years to tell someone.
They are breaking a cycle that this has never happened before. Let a perpetrator know, let a child molester know that if you molest a child, you're gonna be arrested, you're gonna be exposed. And if you keep that child silent for years, one day he will have the guts to come out.
Imagine walking around with a weight your whole life. Until you take it off, until you put it down, you have no idea how much you're carrying.
Don't let anyone in the world, anyone that molested you, anyone that touched you, anyone that raped you, don't let them kill you.
For the first time, it has given them a voice that they are able to stand behind. And it's able to say that we are stronger than you. So the 3 new forms JCW is preventing investigations, working with private detectives on finding and tracking down these people, letting you know who to keep your children away from, educating the public on how bad it is and what to do to protect your children, and healing as many victims as possible. We're making a website that will give victims a voice, that will educate the public, that will scare other perpetrators. The reason why the wall of shame is created is so you as a parent will know who your neighbor is. We can stop a massive majority of abuse if we only do it together. Not one person here, one person there. If our community comes together and faces this. JCW's only mission is to prevent your child from being abused, is to educate you and your child about the harms that are out there and the dangers that are out there. We have to stop talking about it. We have to put words into action. Partner with us. Give a donation to help JCW protect our children.